Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are tackling a topic that, honestly, I think keeps a lot of people awake at night.
Oh, for sure.
We're looking at a specific set of materials from Mr. English that addresses what they call the final mile problem.
It's such a vivid image, isn't it? The final mile.
It really is.
Yeah.
And to be clear, for everyone listening, we aren't talking about, running a marathon.
Yeah.
We are talking about language learning. But specifically, that just heartbreaking moment where you have done all the work, you know the grammar, you've got the vocabulary, maybe you even have a certificate on your wall, but you just cannot speak.
It's the classic gap between competence and performance. You see this all the time with high-level learners. They can write a perfect essay, but you put them in a coffee shop in London or a party in New York, and they just freeze.
The source material calls this paralysis by analysis, which sounds a little bit like a medical condition.
Well, in a way it is, or at least it's a psychological one. It's when your brain is working so hard to process all the rules of the language.
The conjugations, the prepositions.
Right, the word order, all of it. And the whole system just overloads.
Like a computer trying to open too many windows at once.
Exactly. You get the spinning wheel of death.
So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how to close some of those windows.
Yeah, we aren't going to talk about irregular verbs today. We aren't going to fix your pronunciation. We're digging into the psychology of social interaction.
We want to solve that brain shutdown so you can actually use the English you already know to, make friends.
Right.
So let's start with the root cause. Why does this even happen? Why does a smart, capable adult turn into a statue just because someone asks, "How was your weekend?"
It feels completely irrational, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
the sources argue that it's actually a biological survival mechanism.
A survival mechanism. Being awkward at a party helps me survive.
Well, your brain thinks so. The material starts by defining awkwardness. It says it feels like wearing shoes that are 2 sizes too small.
That's a great description. Clunky, painful.
You can't move naturally, but the biology behind it goes way back to the amygdala.
Okay, that's the part of the brain that handles fear, right?
Correct. It's your alarm bell. And you have to look at this from an evolutionary perspective. 50,000 years ago, we relied entirely on the tribe for survival.
Of course.
So if you were socially rejected, if you were kicked out of the tribe, you didn't just have a lonely Friday night, you died.
Because you were alone in the wilderness with the wolves.
Exactly. So the human brain evolved to treat social failure with the same level of panic as a physical threat. The text uses the saber-toothed tiger analogy.
So when I'm standing in front of a native speaker and I make a grammar mistake, my amygdala doesn't see a friendly person. It actually sees a tiger.
Precisely. It screams, "Danger! We are about to be rejected. We are about to die." And it triggers the fight or flight response. Your body just floods with cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Yes. And here is the real problem for language learners. When your cortisol levels spike, it inhibits the prefrontal cortex. That is the logic center of your brain.
And that's where all the vocabulary is stored.
That's where your vocabulary database lives. So the stress hormone literally locks the library door.
It cuts the phone line.
Your brain is saying, we don't need to conjugate verbs right now. We need to run.
Yeah.
That is why you go blank. It's not that you don't know the word. It's that you physically cannot access it.
That explains the perfectionist trap that the text talks about. We feel like we have to be perfect to stay in the tribe.
But the pressure to be perfect creates the very chemical reaction that makes us fail. It's a vicious cycle. The more you worry about mistakes, the more cortisol you produce, and the less you can speak.
Okay, so we know the biology. We're basically fighting a tiger that isn't actually there.
Yeah.
But the sources don't just stop at biology. They move into psychology, specifically how we perceive ourselves in those high-stress moments.
Yes, the spotlight effect.
This was a real game changer for me.
It's one of the most liberating concepts for anyone learning a second language. The spotlight effect is that feeling, that sensation, that there is a literal spotlight following you around the room, highlighting every single mistake you make.
You feel like you are on a stage and everyone else is the audience judging your performance.
Right. You think, oh no, I used the wrong preposition. Everyone noticed. Everyone is laughing at me. But the reality is, well, it's very different. The sources cite a famous study involving Barry Manilow to prove this.
I loved this part. Please explain the Barry Manilow experiment.
So this was a study by a psychologist, Thomas Gilovich. He took university students and made them wear a T-shirt with a huge picture of the singer Barry Manilow on it.
And for context, we should probably say that at this particular university, Barry Manilow was considered extremely uncool.
Oh, duckly uncool. Wearing this shirt was socially embarrassing, a fashion disaster.
Right.
So the researchers sent these students into a room full of other people, and they asked the students to predict, how many people would notice the shirt.
And since they felt that spotlight, they must have thought everyone would see it.
The students predicted that 50%.
Mm.
Half the people in the room would notice the embarrassing shirt. They were certain of it.
And the actual number?
Less than 20%.
Wow. So they were statistically wrong by a huge margin.
Huge. And remember, that was with a bright, embarrassing image on their chest. In a normal conversation where you just make a small grammar slip, the percentage is probably near zero.
So the big takeaway is nobody is looking at you.
Nobody is looking at you because everyone else is standing in their own spotlight. They are worrying about their own hair, or if they have spinach in their teeth, or what they're going to say next.
That really shifts the perspective. The source material sums this up with a great phrase. You aren't facing an examination, you are seeking a connection.
That is the mantra. If you walk into a conversation thinking, this is a test and that person is the examiner, your amygdala will go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think, I'm just trying to connect with another human, the pressure just drops.
Okay, so we've calmed down the biology and we've turned off the spotlight. Now we have to actually speak. The sources pivot here to the mechanics of conversation.
Yes.
And they start with a defense of something I know a lot of our listeners really struggle with. Small talk.
Oh, small talk is so misunderstood. Many learners despise it. They think it's fake or shallow, a waste of time. They want to discuss deep philosophy, not the weather.
But the text calls small talk social lubricant.
Think about an engine. You've got all these metal parts moving at high speeds. If you don't have oil, they grind together, create heat, and the engine just seizes up.
Small talk is the oil.
It prevents social friction.
It's a safety check, right?
Right.
Like before I can talk to you about my deepest secrets, I kind of need to know if you're normal.
Exactly. It's low-stakes interaction to establish a rhythm and trust.
Yeah.
And to do that well, the source uses the tennis match analogy.
I really like this because I think I've been guilty of playing tennis wrong.
A conversation is a rally. I hit the ball to you, that's a question or a comment, you have to hit it back.
The problem is that many English learners, they catch the ball.
They catch it and they put it in their pocket.
So if I ask, do you like coffee? And you just say yes.
The ball is dead. Silence. And then I have to do all the work to serve another ball. It's exhausting.
So how do we keep the ball moving? The text suggests a formula, QAA.
This is a very practical tool. QAA stands for question, answer, and ADD. And that ADD part is the critical piece that most learners just forget.
Can you walk us through an example of this?
Sure. Let's stick with the coffee scenario. You ask me, do you like the coffee here?
Do you like the coffee here?
I say, yes, that's the answer. And I actually really love the quiet atmosphere here compared to the loud cafe near my office. That's the ADD.
I see. You didn't just answer. You gave me extra information.
I gave you hooks. I mentioned quiet atmosphere in my office. Now you have a choice. You can ask me about quiet places, or you can ask me about my office, or what I do.
It makes it so much easier for me to keep talking to you. You've basically done half the work for me.
It's called self-disclosure. By offering a little bit of personal information, even something small like referring to your office, you signal trust. You're opening the door for the other person to walk through.
But I imagine the challenge for learners is knowing what to add. They might be afraid of saying the wrong thing or oversharing. The sources actually provide a kind of navigation system for topics, right? RPM and VORM.
Yeah, these are great acronyms to help you stay in the safety zone. Let's start with RPM. These are the danger zones topics you should generally avoid in small talk, especially in Western cultures like the UK, US, or Canada.
Okay, lay it out for us. What is RPM?
R is for religion, P is for politics, M is for money.
Money is an interesting one. I feel like in some cultures, asking about salary is pretty normal.
Very true. In some parts of the world, asking how much do you make or how much is your rent is just a standard fact-finding question.
But not here.
But in Western English-speaking cultures, it's considered highly intrusive. It raises the stakes way too high, way too fast.
It triggers that tiger again. Why does this person want to know my financial status?
Exactly. So we avoid RPM. Instead, we aim for FORM, F-O-R-M.
Which stands for?
F is for family, but keep it light. O is for occupation. R is for recreation, hobbies, sports, movies. And M is for miscellaneous, the things around you, the food, the weather.
So if you stick to form, you are generally safe. But there is a nuance to how you ask about these things. The text talks about closed questions versus open-ended questions.
Right. A closed question is a door that's shut. It just invites a yes or no answer. Do you like your job? Yes. The door stays shut.
So we need a key to open the door.
And the key is the 5 W's and 1 H. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Specifically, how and why are the most powerful.
So instead of, do you like your job, I should be asking,
how did you get into that field? Or maybe, why did you choose that career?
because that forces them to tell a story.
It invites a narrative, and when people tell stories, that's when they reveal who they are. That's where connection happens.
I have to mention one thing from the source that made me laugh. It warned against the tuxedo on the beach effect when you're choosing your vocabulary.
Yes. This is such a common trap for academic learners. You spend years reading textbooks, so you learn words like consequently, nevertheless, or furthermore.
Words that look great in an essay.
But if you use them at a casual BBQ, the burger was delicious, nevertheless, I require a napkin. You sound like a robot.
Or a 19th century professor. It creates distance.
It really does.
So what should we use instead?
You want to use rejoinders. These are short emotional reaction phrases. No way! That's so cool! You're kidding! Seriously!
It sounds so simple, but it makes you sound like a friend.
It signals empathy. It shows you are emotionally engaged with their story, not just, intellectually analyzing the grammar.
Okay, so we've covered the speaking side QAA, form, rejoinders, but a conversation is a two-way street. The sources spend a lot of time on listening, and apparently most of us are doing it wrong.
We are suffering from what they call internal listening. For language learners, this usually looks like the translation loop.
Oh, I know this feeling. The other person is talking, and I'm nodding, but inside my head, it's just chaos.
You're frantically translating their English into your native language, then trying to construct your answer in your native language, and then translate it back to English.
And while I'm doing all of those mental gymnastics,
You have stopped listening. You're not hearing what they are saying anymore because your brain is just too busy. And the other person can see it. Your eyes glaze over. The connection breaks.
so how do we stop the loop? The text suggests a cheat code called the mirroring technique.
This is a brilliant tool from negotiation psychology, actually. But it's incredibly effective for language learners.
So how does it work?
You just repeat the last 2 or 3 critical words the speaker said, but you say it with a questioning tone.
With a questioning tone.
See? You just did it.
Oh, I did. It's contagious.
It really is. Let's say I tell you, I had a terrible morning. My flight was delayed for 6 hours.
Delayed for 6 hours.
Exactly. And because you asked that, I automatically want to elaborate. I'll say, yes, the pilot was late and we were stuck on the tarmac.
It makes the other person keep talking, but I didn't have to come up with a whole new question.
It does 2 really powerful things. First, it validates the speaker. It shows you were listening really closely. And second, and this is most important for the learner, it gives your brain a rest period.
A rest period.
While I'm explaining the delay, you don't have to talk. You can just breathe. You can let your brain process the English without the pressure of trying to construct a complex sentence. It buys you time.
That is such a useful strategy. It lowers the cortisol. But, eventually the conversation has to end. And this is the part that gives me the most anxiety. I never know how to leave without being rude.
You're worried about becoming the social ghost.
The social ghost.
That's the person who just drifts away, they stop talking, check their phone, and then just wander off without a clear goodbye. It feels very awkward for the other person.
So why does the exit matter so much?
Well, psychology points to something called the peak end rule. People judge an experience not by the average of every single moment, but by the emotional peak and the end.
So I could be charming for 10 minutes, but if I run away weirdly at the end, they will remember me as the weird guy.
Exactly. A bad exit can ruin a good interaction.
So what's the solution?
The sources outline a 3-step graceful exit. It's another formula, just like QAA.
Okay, step 1.
Step 1, the reason. But it needs to be a soft reason. You don't need a medical emergency. You just need a transition.
Like, I need to get another drink?
Perfect. Or, I think I see my friend over there. Or, I'm going to grab some food. It just explains why you are moving away so it doesn't feel personal.
Step 2.
The compliment. You have to validate the time you spent together. It was really nice meeting you. Or, I loved hearing about your job.
And step 3.
The future. You build a bridge. Enjoy the rest of the party. Or, I hope to see you later.
So let's put it all together. I'm going to go find the restroom. Reason. It was fascinating talking to you about tennis. Compliment. Have a great night. Future.
Flawless. You leave them feeling good, and you have escaped without any awkwardness at all.
Before we wrap up, I want to briefly touch on the physical side of things. The text mentions body language, specifically eye contact and personal space. And these can be tricky because they vary so much by culture.
They really do. But for the context of English-speaking Western cultures, there are two good rules of thumb. First, for eye contact, you want to aim for 70-30.
70-30.
Look at their eyes about 70% of the time. Look away at your drink or to the side about 30% of the time.
Why not 100%?
100% is staring. It feels aggressive. It triggers that tiger instinct again. But if you look 0% of the time, you seem untrustworthy or bored. 70-30 strikes that balance of interest and comfort.
And for personal space, they mention the hula hoop rule.
Yes. Imagine you're wearing a hula hoop around your waist. That's your territory. Don't step inside someone else's hula hoop.
Which is roughly an arm's length.
Roughly. If you can reach out and touch their nose without fully extending your arm, you're probably too close. Back up a step. Give them room to breathe.
We have covered so much ground today. We started with the final mile and the biology of the amygdala, the tiger in the room.
And we realized that the fear is natural, but the spotlight is just an illusion.
We learned the mechanics of the tennis match, using QAA to keep the ball moving, and form to stay in safe topics.
And we learned to use mirroring to buy our brains a break and the graceful exit to leave on a high note.
It really just goes to show that social skills are just that. They're skills. They aren't magic traits you're born with. You can learn them, just like you learned grammar.
That is the most important message. You don't need to be an extrovert. You just need a toolkit. And if you can shift your mindset from examination to connection, you realize that mistakes just don't matter as much as you think they do.
The goal isn't to speak perfect English. The goal is to connect with another human being.
Exactly. Even if you stumble, if you're interested and kind, people will want to talk to you. Every expert was once a beginner who was terrified of saying the wrong thing.
Well, looking at the time, I should probably let you get back to your research reason.
I see you are practicing the exit already.
It has been incredibly helpful unpacking these strategies with you. Compliment.
I enjoyed it. Hopefully it helps some of our listeners cross that final mile.
And to everyone listening, I hope you go out there and try one of these tips today. Maybe just start with mirroring future. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Goodbye, everyone.